So Dave Rubin recently mentioned an article by Josh Harkinson on Mother Jones. This guy in his article essentially just refers to Cernovich, Southern, Baked Alaska, Brittany Pettibone, and Dave Rubin himself as members of the alt-right. Anyone that knows Dave Rubin knows he's pretty much center-left. He's a rational leftist rather than radicals like I assume Josh Harkinson himself. So I was going through his article, and I went through a few of his older articles, and this one really struck me. Trump donates his presidential salary to the Park Service while pushing cuts that would harm it. An obvious hit piece of Trump derangement syndrome coming from the left, but it's something I've seen so often from the left that I wish they would I wish that they would understand this, because I see clashes back and forth, hostile discussions, very peaceful, constructive discussions, but they all seem to miss this one point between the left and the right. So I just wanted to go through it quick. It'll only take a minute. Let's see what we got. He starts off with saying, Donald Trump is donating the first 3 months of his presidential salary to the National Park Service, White House Press Secretary Sean Spicer announced on Monday. Then he goes into the details of the cuts and then says at the end, last month, Trump proposed slashing spending at the Department of Interior by $1.5 billion, 12% of the budget at the Park Service's parent agency. Advocates have warned that the cuts would harm acquisition and preservation programs. The check presented today would make up just 0.005% of the cuts. Now, I'm assuming the point of this article is to point out, Trump's donating to the National Park Service to show he cared about it, but then here he is going around cutting much, much more than he donated, so he's a hypocrite, right? Well, that's exactly the point. It's not hypocritical if you understand the principles behind it. In the first principle, where Trump's donating, he is voluntarily donating his salary to the National Park Service. When Trump talks about slashing its budget, he's talking about slashing the government budget. There is a big difference between donating to the National Park Service and giving tax dollars to it. There's an interesting Bastiat quote I have here that pretty much sums up the entire thing, this entire misconception, in just one sentence. Every time we object to a thing being done by government, the socialists conclude that we object to it being done at all. And that's exactly it. The issue is not how much the Park Service gets, it's where is that money coming from. If it's coming from private charity, then that's fine, that's okay. That's what we want. That's what the people on the right and libertarians want. The idea is that the money would be much better spent in the private sector. If people really care for the National Park Service, they will donate to it. And on top of that, directly donating to the Park Service is much more efficient than, say, taxing the people, enforcing that taxation, fueling all that money through an inefficient bureaucracy system where a lot of that's taken out, and then giving it to the Park Service. The whole thing is charities are quite efficient with their money. They don't want to waste a single penny if they don't have to. They're limited in what they can get. They can only get what people are willing to donate to them voluntarily. When it comes to government, if they want more, generally, they just have to lobby for more, and they'll get what they want. The problem with government is essentially that if it does things inefficiently, the answer is more money and not necessarily better services. And that's the big message behind here. This is not a contradiction, though it may seem like it. It seems that, at least from my perspective, the left is very reflective of Alinsky's tactics of pretty much by any means necessary. If we want something to have funding, it should get funding by any means necessary. In our case, in the right and the center, like libertarian types, there really is a right and a wrong way to fund something. If you have to fund something through taxation, we never know if it's as efficient as it could be. We never know if it's really where that money should go. And the nice thing about charity is people put their money where they want to. If they really care about the Park Service, they will give to it. If they want more parks, they will give money for more parks. If they think, hey, we got too many parks right now, if they actually would prefer other things over the parks, they won't donate to it. And I think something rather interesting I just wanted to point out in this article, I get it's a short, quickie article, looks like, but would it really hurt to get more than one source? I mean, some of these numbers I really have to question. If I trusted Mother Jones, I would say they're legit, but I really don't know. This guy doesn't seem to be very non-biased, to say the least. He does include a link about the budget cuts and basically says, budget proposal threatens national parks. It's a press release from the National Parks Conservation Association. How non-biased? Let's see. Something's about the National Park Service is about to get cut. So, of course, you would expect them to be the most non-biased when it comes to, do they really need that money? Of course not. Like, if you're going to cite something, cite it from a non-biased source. You can't expect an organization to be biased on whether they get money or not. And, of course, they're going to say, yes, we need the money. But anyways, that's about it. With this Josh guy, I hate to assume malice, but with someone like him just being libelous to Dave Rubin and other center-right people, right-wing people, calling them alt-right, just lumping everyone in here in the alt-right is not true. It's not correct. And it's one of those things where either he hasn't done his research and he's in this far-left echo chamber, or he really is malicious about this and is just mislabeling these people to demonize them. It's not right at all. But yeah, I saw this article. I get it. It's from April 3rd. It's a bit old, and it's old news by now, but it's the principle behind it. It's the idea that as soon as we cut something or speak about cutting something, the left jumps out and says, oh, you must hate that thing. It's like, if we want to privatize healthcare, they say, oh, you must not want people to have healthcare. Well, that's not it at all. It's not that we don't want people to have healthcare. It's that we want people to have healthcare. It's actually the exact opposite. We want people to have healthcare, therefore we're supporting a private, efficient system. Yeah, that's about it. That's all I can say on the matter. If you want more, subscribe. If you like the video, please give it a like. Follow me on social media. Links are all in the description or right in front of me here. And thanks for watching.